Hello again, it is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network, taking you into the garage and talking to the folks that make the race cars go around the racetrack. I'm Steve Post, pit road reporter for Motor Racing Network, joined by 25-time and championship-winning crew chief, Todd Gordon. Hello, Todd, how are you?
I'm great. Came off of a wonderful weekend at Sonoma and looking forward to Iowa.
Boy, I'll tell you, I used to do Sonoma a little bit when I was doing stuff with Sirius. I actually went out there and did a truck race a couple years ago. I missed my trips to wine country. I love going out there. Didn't mind the airplane, didn't care for the airplane ride. But boy, once you landed at a good spot.
That's where I was going to go. I love being out there. I've got a sister-in-law who lives in that area. It's a cool place to visit. Just a great opportunity and a great atmosphere. I hate to travel back and forth, and the days you lose that late night flight coming back. But a great event. I thought for a repave, I thought they put on a heck of a show, and I mean, we were teetering on record number of cautions. What was there? 8 cautions in this race, and it's really jumbled up strategies.
It's fascinating to me, and you mentioned something we didn't even talk about this, repave. We had a repave at North Wilkesboro that was pretty good.
Yeah.
We have a repave at Sonoma that's pretty good.
Yes.
I think we're figuring some of this repaving out a little bit.
Yeah. It seems like they've had enough racing on it too.
That's
in other
true.
plays. They've had other series on there and put this together. But it's been I thought was a pretty spectacular. I couldn't follow the strategies.
Oh my gosh!
With all the cautions we had, I never saw them going to 52 to start with. But it put some people in different fuel windows. Interesting race.
Interesting race, that is for sure, and it sets us up.
No, go ahead.
Sets us up for an interesting 10-race run to the playoffs. First and foremost, we've got the cut line and everything like this. Todd, the first thing I like to look at though is the racetracks. Okay?
Yes.
3 short ovals, Iowa, New Hampshire, Richmond. 4 very unique racetracks, concrete at Nashville, Chicago Street Race, Pocono, the oval or rectangle at Indianapolis.
Yep.
2 intermediates, Michigan and Darlington. And Darlington is unique in itself.
Well, and Michigan really has nothing else tied to it.
No, Michigan, because
it's the only 2 mile we've got left on the
schedule.
It's
only 2 mile, yeah, you're right about that. And then, Daytona is in the middle of it. This, to me, is setting up, from a track perspective, as a fascinating run. Oh, and there's a 2-week break in the middle of it all.
Yeah, just to kind of regroup and figure out what you got to do with the last run. But as you look at this, I feel like this all the way. There's nothing from here to the playoffs that applies to the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's we're kind of in that. Sonoma didn't, repave short track. I mean, I don't know. No. Maybe we've always talked about Sonoma and Watkins Glen being different. So 10 to go. But there's a heck of a race we're going to see and I would say from 10th on back.
Yeah.
In our points.
Martin Truex Jr. sits 128 to the good. Okay? They're in good shape now.
5th in points.
But the problem is this, we know the cut line is a moving target. Boy, you get behind him. Ty Gibbs is 86 points to the good. Yeah, okay, you're all right there.
I feel like he's all right. I don't know that he feels confidently great, but he's got many cars behind him. But really, when you get down...
Yeah, now we're getting close.
Once behind Ty Gibbs is 8th. Christopher Bell, 2 wins in 9th. He's guaranteed 3. Yeah. But then the glut you've got from 10th on back, Ross Chastain, Alex Bowman, Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace. That's the last ones in right now.
Right now, yes.
Because we have 2 winners in Austin Cindric and Daniel Suarez that are outside the top 16, so you can only go to 14th here. Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Chase Briscoe, the next 3 out. I think all very capable winners as we come forward. I don't think there's any. I think there's anxiety in every position from 10th on back.
You mentioned Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Chase Briscoe, Michael McDowell. Yeah, that's next. I mean, and they and
McDowell's 20th in points, so he's got. I mean, they know they've got to win. And you look at the races you talked about. There's the Chicago Street Course, which could be some outlier winners.
Sure.
See where that plays out. We've got some unique racetracks.
Daytona can mess the whole thing up.
We can go back and look at all the prior Daytona winners that are buried in the field, or guys that really run well at speedway races. I wouldn't be surprised. Corey LaJoie.
Yeah. Really
good. We're going to talk to his crew chief, but Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is a Daytona 500 winner from 2023.
Yep.
27th in points, I believe he is.
Yeah, so they've got,
they've got nothing to do but win.
Win Daytona, and the world gets a whole lot better.
How about Austin Dillon?
Same situation.
I mean, there's so many people, and you've got to look at this and just, as you're planning this as a crew chief, you've got to look at it and say, there's going to be an outlier winner for the Daytona race.
Right.
So I'm looking to be 15 now, because that one I don't know where it is, but I'm just going to assume it's going to be out of the back there. Now, if it isn't, bonus, but you can't rely on that. You can't rely on that not happening, because it's happened so many times. So I think you almost got to look that out. So now if you have that, Bubba's the first out.
Yep.
So now we've got Bubba, Kyle, Joey, Chase Briscoe, Michael McDowell.
You mentioned, I mean, and yeah, Daniel Suarez and Austin Cindric kind of messed this up. But when you look at it, Truex, Ty Gibbs, Ross Chastain, Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace, they could win also. I mean, they're just Alex Bowman. They could win also, and that becomes
the stress, because your pool could very much shrink.
Yeah,
where if you don't win, you're one of a few that are the spots that are targeted.
Absolutely.
To your point, I mean, Blaney was a pint of gas from winning.
Well, yeah, Blaney's a pint of gas from winning. Pint of gas from winning. Easy for me to say. Yes, exactly. Chris Buescher. My gosh, we went through that phase where,
2 inches
at Kansas, and then Tyler Reddick and him get into it at Darlington.
Yes.
Unreal. Joey Logano winless to me is baffling as well.
And we're going to Iowa, which is a first time for. I mean, every time we go to a first time race, Joey Logano wins it, right?
So, and this is their strength. Paul and Joey had talked about Iowa, New Hampshire.
Yes.
They kind of sort of need to want to get a win out of one of those races.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where this all plays out. Stay tuned. The next 12 weeks with a 2-week break in the middle that we can gossip about it. It's going to be a heck of a run.
It really, truly is. It is the run to the playoffs here in NASCAR. You referenced it, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 27th spot in the point standings. His crew chief, Mike Kelley, is going to join us next here on Crew Call. Stay with us. Mike Kelley joins us next. Welcome back. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network. Let's go to the Zoom line. Joining us from JTG Daugherty Racing, crew chief for that number 47 car, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Mike Kelley joins us. Hello, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We are doing well. Mike, we have an interesting scenario here. I want to talk a little small picture before we get into some big picture stuff. New repave at Sonoma, 50-minute practice session. New racetrack at Iowa, 50-minute practice session. What do you as a team that's putting some stuff together? What did you learn at Sonoma? What are you looking forward to at Iowa? How do you process these different weekends as a crew chief?
And you kind of forget about having practice, actually, and it is getting you guys back into a new rhythm. But 50 minutes is still, it's great to have 50 minutes of practice with these cars and how hard it is to change parts on cars. You can get a decent change in, but it's not like the old days where you can throw a whole bunch of springs and balance changes at it. It's more about being prepared and having an idea what you want to get done. The thing I like the most about it is having overnight to think about it and run through some other options and come in on Saturday and actually make changes to our car, especially for a smaller team like ourselves, with just not having teammates to bounce things off of or run through. We're just limited on that, but I do appreciate the practice that we get. I think they probably give us too many sets of tires. We generally at JTG don't run through all 3 sets in a 50-minute practice. And especially on a road course where you just can't get in and out of the garage. But it was good for us. We went there with a package and looked at it, and overnight made a bunch of changes to it and felt like on race day we had a lot better car. And that's kind of the same thing we're looking at going into Iowa. We got to spend a little bit of time on the simulator yesterday and more of just getting Ricky some visuals back at the place. It's been a long time since he's been there, and just kind of coming up with a good game plan to use those 50 minutes wisely.
So a couple things I want to hit on there, but and I looked at the schedule for Sonoma, and I think it's likewise for Iowa, but you get that 50-minute practice, you've got 2.5 hours before the garage closes to kind of clean things up, work on things. But you come in the next, and you get to work, you get to digest that all overnight, to go without sleep. I understand how that works. But then you come in Saturday morning for qualifying day. You've got a very finite window before you've got to be in line for technical inspections. It's probably a thrash when you come back on Saturday morning to get everything done, right?
Yeah, it is. You basically have an hour to get ready, and somewhere in that time you need to run you need to run your car back across that scanner machine and the Hawkeye machine and just make sure you have, especially at a road course, your car's bouncing off curbs and your car's, under abuse out there. And we set these underbodies to be within 10 or 15 thou where we want them. So 30 minutes of that time, your car is running across that machine. And then obviously at a road course, you're looking at, do I need to replace all the pads and rotors going into tomorrow's race? So it's a quick amount of time. Well, Todd, you've been around like myself, where we used to have 6 hours after practice, and that never felt like you had enough time.
Car chief was on me all the time about that.
Yeah. Got to get those changes to me before I go home on Saturday night. Well, the hour in the morning is basically just to finish up and make sure, you're where you need to be, and you got to run that car. So, in your pit crew, you got to make sure your chains are all set. So yeah, it goes by really quick, a lot faster than I remember. But yeah, it's appreciative. I think the key is it's the 12, 14 hours after the garage closes and getting your group together and your driver debrief and the guys back at the shop helping run some sim runs and just kind of come up with a really good plan.
And then out of that, you brought up a couple other things, but I had it in my notes, going to Iowa, this is the same tire we'll run at Loudon next weekend. It's the same tire that we ran at North Wilkesboro as a primary tire at North Wilkesboro. Does the continuity of tire, does that help at all? And you even referenced, going back to a place. You and Ricky won back-to-back here, I believe, in the Xfinity Series. What confidence does that bring into an event for you guys?
Well, obviously Iowa was really, really impressive for me and Ricky, and really important to us as that actually, a lot of people know the story. We won 3 in a row with Ricky, and but probably the day that solidified mine and his relationship came in 2010 when we went there. We crashed a car in practice, and then we pulled the backup out and we crashed that car in qualifying, and we had to go to a third car. And there was a heavy conversation that day about Ricky Stenhouse and his career and where we thought it would be as management. We were pulling a backup car out of Carl Edwards' trailer and giving it to this kid. And he was just so fresh in his deal. But I think everyone at Roush that day was fully committed to Ricky, and he started the race in the back. And I think he finished somewhere in 12th or 13th or something like that in Carl's backup car. And I think that was the day when he realized, that he didn't have to carry it all on his shoulders, and that he had somebody that would stick with him. And then to come back there the following year and win that race in a battle with Carl, blowing an engine coming to the line. Iowa is a place that just will always be important to me and to Ricky and probably to our relationship together. We were really fortunate to, I felt like we were never as good at the night race as we were in the day race when it was hot and slick. And I think the fall or the race in 2012 during the day, he led like 215 or 20 laps of 250. And that was just a beat down. I felt like that was fun. And then as good as we were there, we probably one of the most embarrassing things of my career was they changed the tire in the fall of 2012. And, we had a clerical error where we copy and pasted tire stuff, and no one caught it until race day morning. And, we could not figure out why our car balance was so far off after, and just fear of changing something, right? For 3 years, this setup we had worked so well in the shocks and the springs, and you're like, there's no way there's something else we're missing. And actually it was a friend of mine, Felipe Lopez, was crew chief in Mike Wilnett's car that weekend. And we were in the lobby, I think me, him, and Seth Barber, probably till like midnight that night, trying to figure out what is it, how something is wrong with our car, something is wrong. And we realized that we were off on the stagger by the new stagger tires were quite a bit smaller on the right side, and it bit us. And so we learned then that, sometimes you just can't take things for granted. It's attention to details. And that's why Iowa's important to us. It's just been a lot of positives, a lot of learning and a lot of growing together.
I want to take you from 2010 to the future now with your driver, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And I think 2010 was the year that Ricky got to work in the gift shop. He got to work in the engine room. He got to do all of that stuff. I was doing a live for Sirius XM radio in the gift shop, and I look, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is working in the gift shop. This is all part of the Jack Roush learning curve here. But to be able, Mike, to develop that relationship with him, and Ricky's just extended his contract and everything else, what has that been like, that continuity for you as a crew chief to know your driver so well?
Man, I think it helps us a lot, especially, it helps us more on the bad days or the days where we really got to dig in together and try and learn from it. It helps a lot to know that I can be blunt with him and he can be blunt with me. And at the end of the day, it's not personal. It's something that we've been through for a long time. I think, like I said, it's 13 or 14 years we've done this together. And even the years where I was off doing something maybe a little different, I wasn't a crew chief on his race team, we still had that relationship. He would be one of the first guys I would call if I was struggling at the racetrack, or I would be one of the ones he would call if he was struggling. And we've been there for each other through a lot of personal things on and off the racetrack. And I think that has just cemented it. It's kind of helping us right now. I think, this year we have been hit or miss at times, and it's been a lot of things. He's made mistakes. I've made mistakes. The car just hasn't been good, but I feel like we generally can come out of the weekend, and then by Monday night, Tuesday morning when we do our debriefs, I feel like we are prepared and ready to go back. If we going back that weekend, we'd be a lot better off. And it's just a good thing to have that relationship with your driver, I'm sure.
So, and you alluded to it, 27th in points. I mean, at this point last year, I feel like you were inside the top 16. You had that Daytona 500 win, which took some pressure off. As you look forward, we've got 10 races left. Do you focus on particular events with a little more scrutiny because you feel like there are opportunities to win, or do you try to prepare for all 10 the same?
No, I think we, obviously where we're sitting in points, we know what it'll take, but I'm not that guy that's worried about trying to throw a Hail Mary. I really want to get our car speed back where it was, and I want to get our consistency. I feel like we use this weekend as a prime example. We actually had a decently paced race car during the race. And, there wasn't going to be a lot of opportunity for track position. We were able to work ourselves into a situation where we were racing inside the top 10. We were in the top 10 when the last pit cycle started. And if everything works out, it looks like we're going to finish somewhere in the top 10 to top 15. And for us, that's right on par where we'd need to be. And we speed on pit road, and we make that mistake, and we have a bad pit stop, and it just takes it away from us, and we finish 24th. Those are the things I'm trying to clean up. Those are the things I'm trying to get better, is that we need to be a little more attention to detail in the race, and it's different today, than it was last year. We've looked a lot of these calling a race. There's been times where when we're in the back half of the top 10 on pace, and you call the race as if you're trying to get a top 10, if you're 24th or back, you call the race totally different. And if that caution comes out, and the cars are so good now, everyone if you're running 27th or 28th, if you can get your car inside that top 10, you'll finish top 15. I don't care what the affiliation is or the name is. That's how good these cars are right now, and everybody's got them there. So we're learning calling races a little differently, when to call the races a little differently, and just getting our cars faster and more comfortable to drive. I think we've missed some things here and there that'll help that. So yeah, we're just digging on. I'm taking each race at a time. I know that we have a Daytona race, between here and there, and realistically, that would be our shot. We haven't had the pace to go up and win one of these races straight up, and I'm not kidding myself to think that. But I'm more concentrated on getting myself back in that. Let's be top 15, let's be top 20 range, and get our pit stops and the rest of our stuff cleaned up so that we can do that.
and your car balance and your race strategy kind of have to coexist, right? Because how you tune on your car and when you're running 20th, if you can get yourself cycled to the top 10, it's going to run a little differently because of cleaner air. It's kind of a mix of two pieces you've got to put together, right?
Yeah, you hit on something that, is that alarm bell has been ringing louder and louder, right? So your setup, like we have looked and realized that, man, we can go out and practice all by ourselves, and track temp is 20 degrees cooler in the morning, and you're not really in that pack, and you'll come out of there and you'll have an 8th place on rank average. And we finite it and look at it and say, okay, compared to the cars in our group, where do we stack up? Because we know if you're in the second group or the first group, you almost can't compare each other's times. That's how much different the track and the temps change. Mm-hmm. So then you have to decide, all right, now that's where I was Saturday morning at 9 a.m. What's it going to be like Sunday afternoon? Oh, yeah, we just qualified 28th. All right, so I have to think about my balance run starting 28th, and then knowing, man, if we can get track position and I shuffle you up into 10th or 8th, it's going to be totally different. And just understanding that and getting better at that. Like, you've probably heard more than ever in your career how important qualifying is on Saturdays. And we used to talk about it because of pit selection mainly. Well, pit selection's huge now, and that's changed how people pick pits. And you don't want to have your driver to put any steering angle in it to leave the pit box. But if I can start 15th or better, which that has been one of our weakest links this year, it just puts me closer to those stage points. It puts me closer to having a pretty on par day. Mm-hmm. But if you start 28th, you've got to go into the hotel room on Saturday afternoon and figure out, how am I going to make this happen against 36 of the smartest teams? How am I going to be the one that finds the window, finds the offset strategy? We know it's about just keeping your cars full of gas, because that's the key to opening up a play at these races anymore when tires don't wear out. So it's like road course racing 10 years ago, 15 years ago, every single week.
Yeah, fun stuff. It really is. Mike, I appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you out in Iowa, and we wish you well the balance of the season. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks, guys. You have a great day.
There we go. Mike Kelley, crew chief, JTG Doherty Racing, for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Stay with us. More Crew Call in just a moment. Welcome back. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network. I love catching up with Mike Kelley. He's one of my favorite people in the garage area to talk to. He's a good human being, a great guy, a great family man, a great husband. He does a lot of work with the Lake Norman Humane Society. That's kind of his pet peeve, pet charity, if you will.
His pet charity.
Pet charity. See what I did there? Exactly. And then the challenges, though, that he talked about, Todd, absolutely amazing. The challenges of the 2024 crew chief are just endless, it seems like.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And he talked about it. Like, fuel becomes how you make your strategy pieces. You and I off camera talked about this, but the last 2 weeks, we've had a race-winning contender run out of gas in the last lap.
Yeah.
It's because we've got to the point that track position and saving 2-3 tenths of a second on pit road is what is the make or break today. And when you look at this, 2 or 3 tenths is that's a half a gallon of fuel.
Well, exactly. You think about Ryan Blaney or Martin Truex Jr., if they got a gallon of fuel at one of the earlier pit stops.
Right. Cumulative. It keeps stacking up. So Martin, I did look at Martin's deal. They were full of fuel, but they were on the front of the window. I think he ran. I mean, he came at 68, but I think he probably used up more trying to get by Chris Buescher, who did a great job of keeping him there. But just unfortunate for those guys. But that's where the game is today. It's in all of the details. Yeah. We're on similar cars. We hear it from all these guys. They've got an opportunity, but it's just it's interesting to hear firsthand from those guys what all goes into winning on Saturday is a big thing for Sunday.
What's it take to win the race? Everything.
Yes.
That's what it takes to win the that's all you need to focus on is everything.
Everything. Yeah.
My gosh, that is crazy. And throw a new racetrack into it. Of course, Mike's a 4-time winner at Iowa, 3 with Ricky, 1 with Trevor Bayne in the Xfinity Series. Yep. So, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to dial Mike up this week, because he has such a good story there. And
I remembered it being back to get. It was 3 in a row.
3 in a row, yes, absolutely.
My bad on that one. Yep. But Yeah, he was dominant there.
Yeah.
He and Ricky were, and going back, that has to have at least you have to have a little kick in your step getting there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Different racetrack, they got paving through the corners. Different cars, but
what's your take, crew chief? What are you going there? We have a 50-minute practice session. We have the Friday, Saturday, Sunday deal. What are you looking at, crew chief?
I think I want to see what happens in practice on Friday. The paving, from what I've heard, I've not physically seen it, but from what I've heard, the pavings in 1 and 2 actually starts deeper into the corner than what I would expect to do.
Right.
So guys are corner entry, that kind of unloaded, kind of uncomfortable area is on the old asphalt before you get to the new asphalt. I think that's going to be a challenge for these guys, just to trying to figure out how to balance of getting through that and then getting on the grip of the new asphalt. We'll see where it all plays out. I think it's going to be exciting. Shorter race.
Yeah.
But I still see it being probably a 5-stop race. 4-stop race. We'll see where it plays out. Going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting. That is for sure. Motor Racing Network, they're all weekend long. We have that practice session, 5:30 Eastern Time on Friday afternoon. We'll follow that up with the Atlas 150 ARCA Menard Series race at 8 o'clock on Friday night. Saturday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, NASCAR Cup Series qualifying. 3 o'clock Eastern Time, NASCAR Xfinity Series, the Hy-Vee Perks 250, and Sunday evening race as well, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, NASCAR Cup Series, the Iowa Corn 350, powered by ethanol. Going to be a great weekend out in the heartland, out in Iowa.
Yeah. Looking forward to what comes of this whole piece. Great to go to a new venue. Going to be interesting to see how all these drivers and teams adapt.
Fun stuff, that is for sure. We appreciate Mike Kelley joining us here on the program. More important, though, than all of that, thank you for joining us this time here on Crew Call.